Welcome everybody, this is going to be a little Final Fantasy VII Remake discussion. My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Travis.
And if you guys don't know, or maybe that this is a couple days after when the demo got released, the Final Fantasy VII Remake got released, and all three of us have played it, and let's just say we have some thoughts that we want to share about this demo, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it has us more excited for the remake, less excited for the remake. There's a lot of thoughts that we have kind of scattered and whatnot, so we're going to try to organize them and, just discuss it a little bit. So, as just a general starter, what do you guys think? In an overall impression, not to get too nitty-gritty, did you enjoy the demo and did it make you more excited for the remake coming out?
Well,
you go first, Travis.
I get to go first? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I have never played a single Final Fantasy game at all, like, not even a little bit. So I was really curious to see how this demo was going to play out because I knew it was really different because the first one is turn-based, right?
Yes.
Okay. So obviously this was not turn-based, but I really liked how you had to, like, whack them a couple times in order to fill your gauge so then you can actually do another action. So it still kind of felt like, I'll say it's kind of like the I Am Setsuna, where you had to kind of wait until you can actually do an action again. So it kind of had an element of it, but...
Yeah, I Am Setsuna was very influenced by the active time battling system of, like, these kinds of Final Fantasy games. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, like, obviously it wasn't, like, to that scale. Like, this is still pretty different. But I think this was a good happy medium between changing it up to, the modern times, because I know Final Fantasy 15 kind of dropped the ball on that one to old fans, but I don't think anyone can argue that this game is freaking gorgeous.
No, I would agree.
The atmosphere was super cool. I've also been watching a bunch of videos since I've played the demo and have become obsessed with this game, which I did not think I would. They said that sometimes the setting can kind of get a little repetitive just because from where because I know this is only part of what the original one was, right? It's going to be in 3 parts.
Yes.
So they're like, yeah, well, when you're in Midgar, it's basically all the same setting, so it makes sense that it's kind of all feels a little similar for the atmosphere, but like I thought the combat was really smooth. And if Mike has other things he wants to say about it, because I know he actually has played the original one as well as the demo.
Yeah, well, and I think it's funny because I was really, really scared that the combat was going to be like Final Fantasy 15, which is literally, I'm going to hold this button and just like let the game do the rest, which was super dumb. I didn't like Final Fantasy 15's combat system at all. And so when they kind of were saying, well, this game is going to follow the direction of action, I was like, please don't do it the way that you've been doing it. The good thing is this game is a lot more akin to, I would say, like Final Fantasy Type 0, where you actually have to press buttons, but there's also a little bit of menuing associated with it, so it's not just a full-fledged action game, but there's some aspects of having to use the menu, like you mentioned, where if you want to use like your special attacks or your limit breaks and stuff like that, you still have to go into the menu. So it's a nice blend where it's not super lazy action. You actually have to be involved in the combat. Because that was my biggest complaint with Final Fantasy 15, the last game that came out, which is it was lazy combats. But playing the demo, I felt really invested into what was going on. I feel like I actually had to concentrate and like be aware of what was happening. The biggest thing I like is the idea that certain enemies have certain weaknesses that cause them to stagger, which I think is so great. Ironically, I could be wrong, but I believe the first Final Fantasy game that really had that was 13. So I love the idea that this game took something from Final Fantasy 13. But I love the idea of staggering an enemy. It kind of gives you that advantage, and it also forces you to kind of think a little bit. Okay, well, what weakness could this enemy possibly have? And in the demo, it was obvious. They literally said, "Oh, maybe I should shoot him with fire." But I'm hoping that in later games and later levels in the actual game, you kind of have to do a little more experimenting to figure that out. But my whole thing is the combat felt a lot smarter than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be, oh, you just spam and win, and it kind of was. But I like that there's a much more convenient way to do it if you play smart. So really, the combat I thought was really good.
Mm-hmm. And to answer your question, one of the videos that I watched, he mentioned that Cloud can get a spell that will tell someone their weakness later on.
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah, but it won't like straight up tell you like it was in the demo that like, you should attack the boss with lightning, Barrett.
Exactly.
Lightning.
Right.
No, I could see that. I agree with both of you in terms of the combat system. It is kind of a nice blend between active time and turn-based, but I'm still. I'll be honest. I did really like the combat system, and to me, I think one of the big concerns that I had going into this was because I would really rather prefer the active time battling because I think it was almost like perfected when it came down to Final Fantasy VII. But my worries, I think I'm along your lines of thinking, Mike, where my worries have kind of disappeared from that because of the fact that the combat seemed it seemed well integrated to the way that the game was laid out. So it seemed like it wasn't going to be, I feel like it was a better fit in this kind of, at least in this kind of a remake. Mm-hmm. The next thing I was going to be talking about is kind of the characters. I remember, this might be a little bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen Mike's video yet, but everybody I feel like has a kind of a character in mind when they're seeing these characters in real life, and when you have a voice actor come and portray them, it can kind of give you a different opinion on, well, I don't think that was really right, but like because everybody has a kind of idea of who it is. And for one, like just in my personal opinion, I thought the voice work was overall pretty well done. I'll be honest, I didn't really have any expectations of like Jesse and Biggs and Wedge, but I actually did have expectations, obviously, for like Cloud and Barrett, and both of them I thought were done fairly well. I know that a lot of people don't like the more angsty emo like Cloud that really comes with the final, like that comes with the it came with the remake, because Cloud, at least when I played Final Fantasy VII for the first time, I never really got the impression that he was that angsty or that kind of. I think they kind of like overshot when they were trying to portray him in Kingdom Hearts. But I am curious that after hearing the voice acting, has your perception of these characters either, I guess it's more of a Mike question, but has your perception of these characters actually changed for the better in that case?
For Barrett, I guess kind of. Barrett was the one that tripped me out because when I first played the original, for me, Barrett was like this big, dinky guy, right? That was just like cussing and shouting for no reason. But the Barrett in the remake is like this fucking like big, intimidating, deep voice sounding guy that seems super serious. I was not ready for that. Like Barrett was always kind of a comical character to me. And now I'm sitting here thinking, did I totally misunderstand his whole character in the original game? Because I'm like, every time he spoke, I thought, oh, this guy's funny. He's kind of like in this just over-the-top angry person.
Kind of like,
but that's true because it fit with him because he'd like be wagging his arms like crazy and he'll be like stomping around.
Yeah.
So like I don't think that's a wrong interpretation of the character based on what the original game showed.
Right. Well, and then they had like the curse words, where it would like have like the bleeped out and everything, and I'm like, okay, this guy's just kind of crazy. But in this one, it was so much like, Cloud, you better watch yourself or I'm gonna F you up. And I was like, oh, okay. He's not yelly. He wasn't like shaking his arms everywhere. So for Barrett, but I don't mind it, honestly. I think this Barrett's totally cool too. And I think that, like you said, the voice actor, regardless of my interpretation, the voice actor is doing a phenomenal job with that. I really, really like Barrett's voice acting. I do have a problem with Cloud. Because it bothers me so much that he has this angsty style now. And he was always kind of like that, but it wasn't just for no reason.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of times where Cloud was really lighthearted. And we kind of saw that in the demo a little bit, like when he made that remark to Barrett about, what was it on the elevator? Something about, like, get help or whatever. Like,
yeah,
he was like
I thought he said something a little angry about that.
Right. So, like, there were some times where, like, I saw, like, a joke side. But, like, the vibe I got from the original game was that Cloud was sort of just a lost, confused character, but he still had a personality. I feel like this Cloud is, like, they're making him so much like a machine, which I get there's a kind of reason for that. But but like he still had a personality in the original game, and the demo is just the beginning where he first meets a lot of these characters. So I'm hoping that's not something that's just completely taken out of him. I don't mind a slightly angsty Cloud. I just hope that, like, the voice actor, I think, did a fine job, but it was just a lot of, like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go get this. And I'm like, where's Cloud's, like, emotion? Like, he's more than just, like, a stoic character, you know? But overall, I like the characters.
Yeah, he did seem very robotic, at least in terms of when I was, at least from my interpretation of what I was watching in terms of the cutscenes. So I mean, I'm with you. I agree that I do think, I mean, Kingdom Hearts was definitely way overshot, but Cloud, especially when you start to see more of the backstory, more of what happens in Nibelheim, and more of, I think most of the time when you actually see Cloud start being more humanized and when you actually start understanding Cloud more is when he gets, when he has conversations and interactions with Tifa. And because of the fact that that wasn't shown in the demo, I think that is, maybe that's why they're keeping it like that, so maybe they'll show a bigger shift. I don't know, maybe that's a lot more speculation than you would expect, but I'm hoping that if they're planning on Cloud to go through a bigger character development moment, you gotta show it with Tifa then, because a lot of those moments were shown with Tifa, and a lot of crucial elements to Cloud's backstory is with Tifa. So I'm really hoping that at least if they are planning on keeping Cloud as kind of this, I don't know, angsty teen kind of character before, that it will change. Well, I don't think he's a teen, but like it will change with like the later parts of the game and whatnot. And let's face it, Midgar is a pretty big section of the game. I think it's actually all of Disc 1 if I remember correctly. So it is a hefty amount of the game itself. But anyway, let's move on to another point. And this is a little bit of a scattered point, but I'm going to say this. This is like a really weird complaint that I had with the demo, and I don't even know if I should even call it a complaint, but that's with the name of it. Like, it's just called Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I saw this on a Twitter thing, and I never started thinking about this until they pointed it out, and I don't remember who tweeted this. If I find the tweet, I'll send it in or something. But just with the name of Final Fantasy VII Remake, I get that it does the job of portraying what the game is and the fact that it isn't a game before that. Why the hell do they not call it just Final Fantasy VII Midgar? Like, it's an episodic game. Tell about like what parts of the game that it's actually focusing on. I don't get why they just didn't do that. I feel like it's so simple in that way, or it'll convey more and it'll show that there's more to this game than just Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then they finish the first section like, oh, it's an open-ended question. Like, I mean, Final Fantasy VII has a huge following anyway, and they probably know that it isn't going to be the end. But I feel like it's just an easy thing if they would just call it like Final Fantasy VII Midgar, Final Fantasy VII Genova or Jehovah, not Jehovah, whoever the you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about, but
yeah.
So maybe it's not even really a complaint. I wish they wouldn't have just called it Final Fantasy VII Remake. I get why. I think it could have been done better.
Yeah, they haven't been doing a great job of making it super clear that this is episodic. Like, no one even knows how many episodes there's going to be. So, like, they haven't been super clear with a lot of the information on this. And I do think there's going to be a lot of people that might buy this game not realizing it's going to be episodic. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, so for me, it's less the name of it and more the fact that they're branding this as, oh, we're remaking this game and releasing it, when that's not what they're doing. They're releasing this in pieces, and it totally doesn't seem like that. Because in reality, the name doesn't mean anything to me. Like, one of my favorite remakes ever now, Resident Evil 2, the remake of that game was just called Resident Evil 2. They didn't even add remake to it. But it didn't matter to me because it was just Resident Evil 2. And it was a full game, so it didn't need to really promote much else. But I feel like since this game is, like, episodic, they need to do something like that. So you're right. I think at least the digital version, maybe like what I'm buying should say like Episode 1 Midgar, or like is it just Midgar or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
To make that clear, because I feel like they're not being super clear with that.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. So that was like kind of just a small point, if anything. Another thing that I was a little weirded out on, and maybe it's just because of the fact that it's a very early part of the game. Did you guys feel, and this for both of you guys, Travis and Mike, did you feel like the boss, because I figured, like, in my mind, there's really only one boss in that entire thing, and that's when he faced the kind of scorpion robot. did you feel like he was kind of just a bullet sponge?
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes down to, and maybe it's because it's an action boss or whatnot, they wanted to increase the tension. I don't know what their purpose is. I feel like it was just kind of a waste of time because you were just doing things over and over, and I really wasn't getting hit during a lot of it. Like, and I understand there's different phases and whatnot. I feel like that could be, and again, in my mind, I'm thinking that when I was playing the game originally, it's a tutorial boss. It's not supposed to take that long. It's supposed to teach you the basics of combat. It taught me the basics of combat, but you learned it, and the fight still lasted for like 10 minutes after that, and I'm like, what's the point of this? Like, I wasn't getting hurt. My health wasn't going down. I wasn't using a lot of items. I was just rinsing and repeating. It's like, if that's like the kind of standard they're going to go for all the boss fights, it's like, I feel like that's unnecessary padding to something that really doesn't need it because there's going to be a lot of story elements either. And the combat is good, but I feel like that's just going to tire me out of the combat if I'm not constantly experimenting or trying something new the entire time. So I think that the boss fight was good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like maybe 7-8 minutes of it was just pointless.
Yeah, you want to talk about it, Travis? Because I've talked a lot.
Yeah, so I definitely felt like he was being a bullet sponge. Only I was being so stubborn, and I'm like, I'm not going to actually switch to Barret. I'm just going to use the command thing to have him just spam Thunder over and over again to kill his, the weak point. And as Cloud, you get hit by just about everything that stupid boss has because he spits out the electricity around him. So you get hit by that. He'll pick you up. And then you switch to Barret, hit his weak point before he can actually hurt you. Otherwise, it really does chunk your health quite a bit. And then the stupid missiles always pissed me off because I was trying to roll it, and I realized now I probably should just guard it and increase the gauge that way instead of trying to actually dodge all of them because it was impossible. But
Yeah.
So wait. So you don't dodge roll in Kingdom Hearts, but you try it in Final Fantasy VII.
So, I did start rolling in, like, the last third of the game, if you remember right, okay?
I'm just giving you shit. I just found it funny that in the game that promotes you to roll, you don't. But in the game that is not the best defensive option, you just choose to roll.
I thought it was the safe option, being from the same game developer,
That's true.
I was wrong.
I was wrong.
So I'm never going to roll again in Kingdom Hearts.
It's a good solution.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't particularly enjoy the boss fight. Also, since I was recording while I was doing it, I wasn't super focused on what was going on, and I didn't even realize there was a weak point on it, which made that boss fight take a little bit longer than I would have liked it to. But I agree, and I think one of the biggest issues is I feel like they're trying to maintain the length of these boss fights and the structure of them. They're trying to keep it the same as when it was turn-based, but I feel like that translation isn't going to be super well because in turn-based combats, you can't avoid damage, right? When it's the enemy's turn, if they want to hit you, they're going to hit you. You're very limited in your ability to just dodge, roll, or guard and take less damage or no damage at all, So because of that, turn-based combat boss fights, it's okay if they're longer because it doesn't fall into the pattern of I'm just dodging everything and spamming attacks, Because in an action game, if you're dodging all the hits, it really is just you spamming and spamming and spamming, and that's it. And this boss fight took forever, and I despise boss fights that have these shields and generators and stuff like that. I hate it because it's just saying I have this boss fight, let me make it longer by adding something else there. I've always hated that. And then this boss fight frustrated me more. Not that it was a big issue, because then at the very end, it starts to heal itself, And I don't think it ever got to the point where it did anything, but just the threat of that was are you kidding me? This boss fight's gone on long enough. So I wish either the enemies would be a little bit strong. I wish my ideal would be the enemies do more damage to you, but they're a lot weaker. This boss fight could have been cut in half and it would have been perfect. And because I found myself essentially falling into the cycle of I'm just going to spam away. I'm going to let the boss hit me. and because I want to do as much damage as I can, and then when my health gets low, I'd heal, and I would just rinse and repeat because I'm like, I got a ton of potions. I'm just gonna tank damage and spam, and there was no challenge with it because of that. So
Yeah.
I hope later boss fights aren't like that. I'm hoping just because it's the demo, they made it easy, but also wanted to be like substantial. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I feel like if it just stands for, I say like worst case scenario in my mind, if they keep it like that for like some of the bigger enemies that you face, like or I guess like in terms of size of the enemies, I'm okay with that. But when it comes to like like the Turk boss fights, when you're fighting people in Shinra and whatnot, if it goes like fights like those, and they actually are more strategic, like say for example, like when you do some of the boss fights against the Turks, which again, side point, what the hell are the Turks even there for? Not the point though. But when you do like a boss fight against the Turks, I think it would be more fun to see something like that where you'd have to adapt to a quick changing strategy, and not just again have to spam away with a sword and then just heal up when you feel like it. So I would like a little more of a strategic element to do so, but then otherwise, I don't really see a huge difference between the active time and like actually a turn-based system and an action system if that's the case, because you're pretty much doing the same thing. I feel like what makes the action more fun is because you want to actually have a reaction to an attack or whatnot, and it's not just block for a while then attack. It's like I feel like, in my mind, there's no separation between a turn-based and an action system if you're pretty much doing it like a turn-based system where you just keep healing, spam attack, then heal. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But anyway, so another point that I want to bring up about the Final Fantasy VII, I think we already, Travis has already touched on it before, was how it looks. It's a pretty looking game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful. I like the way it looks. First of all, I love Final Fantasy VII, the original. It was a great game. I loved it. But it's not a perfect game. It's not my favorite game. And it's just a matter of it not aging super well because, good lord, trying to get through the reactor in the original game was a pain in my ass. Like, trying to jump down the ladders and stuff, I couldn't freaking find where I was supposed to jump half the time. Like, some of the platforming areas, they just weren't designed well. And I get it. It was PS1. It was, like, one of the first times they're really trying this. It was Final Fantasy's first jump into this game. So, totally understandable. But it didn't age well because of that. But this game, obviously coming out in 2020 and being HD, fully rendered 3D, all that nonsense, it's a lot easier to kind of scope things out. I never felt lost, which was nice, you know, and like I could definitely tell, oh, this is the way to go. Oh, this is the ladder I'm supposed to go down. This is the spot I'm supposed to jump. Things were much more clear. So honestly, to me, not only was it graphically beautiful, but it was really refreshing playing this game, not getting lost every 5 seconds or trying to find the one precise spot it wants me to jump off a pipe or something. So I like the layout even more so than the graphics. I mean, Final Fantasy is always beautiful. The past few Final Fantasy games that have come out, you know, whether it's been like a main game like 15 or like one of the spin-off games, like the Dissidia fighting game, they're always beautiful. But this one's not only beautiful, but it's also laid out nicely compared to the original, which has been really refreshing for me.
Yeah. Jess, what do you think?
It was very, very pretty. Everything was huge and ginormous. The anime girls were on point.
Hell yeah.
There was only like one anime girl, though.
That's all we need.
But she was on point.
She was.
We saw Aerith a little bit, too.
Yeah, in a cutscene.
And
she was on point.
And some person stepped on her flower. What a dick.
Oh, I'll take her flower.
Travis.
Okay.
Just kidding.
What?
No, Cloud takes the flower and keeps it with him, apparently. Is that actually, like, a thing? Because in the trailer at the end there, he was just kind of, like, wearing it the rest of the time.
How does it not blow away?
Right? Or, you know, get
thinking.
destroyed in the massacres that he's part of.
Right, you think one bullet, that thing would be destroyed.
And he spits out fire. That would probably light it on fire.
You would think. I don't
Okay,
know.
I played Pokemon. I know fire's super effective, that shit.
Yeah.
There's no flower type. Get out of here.
What's Victory Bell?
Oh, God.
We're a little sidetracked right now. Anyway.
The game was really pretty. Obviously, I haven't played the original, so I don't know if how it is displayed here is how people were imagining Midgar would appear. All I have to compare it to is what Midgar looks like in Smash Bros, and it looks pretty neat. A lot less explosions, minus us, exploding the entire reactor. But, I'm sure there'll be
it's
more
just one of them. They got
later.
8 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 1 of 8. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But, I think graphically it is incredible, and I understand why it's not on the Switch, because that would be like running at 1 frame per second if we're
that.
lucky. Yeah.
If that. Yeah, no, there's no way that game will ever run on Switch.
No.
But either way, I think the point of me asking you guys this question is like I'm with you, Mike. Like in terms of the layout, it wasn't the easiest to find out where to go. I feel like you do get better at learning it after a while, but it is kind of nice that you don't have to worry about those. I think it's just because of the fact that graphically it looks better, and the fact that again it's 3D models, 3D landscape, not a 2D background and 3D models. That's also, I think that would have been an issue. But yeah, I don't really think that when it came down to the remake, when they're trying to show the opening intro or like the opening sequence of events, like Cloud coming in on a train, like the way that one of the things I always liked about Final Fantasy VII is the way that they introduced the characters too, and the way that they did, I think, was very fitting, because in my mind, when you first saw Cloud, you first saw Barrett, the first thing you were thinking is Barrett is very headstrong idealist, which I feel like was pretty clear in the demo. And then Cloud was a little bit of an enigma. He was the cool guy, and he could take on any challenge because he's an he was an ex-soldier member.
He told Jesse to shut up.
He did, which, it's not going to help get in Jesse's pants, Cloud, but you know what? Calm down.
Maybe she's into that, okay?
But, it seemed like she was, honestly.
Well, yeah. Well, she has low self-esteem, not the point.
That was a bold claim there.
That's true. I have nothing to back that on.
We'll have a whole video on that later.
Oh, God. But I feel like the way they introduced the characters was very fitting, and I'm just hoping that they do the same for other characters. I feel like when it comes down to other yeah, I was trying to remember if Red 13 was in the Midgar section. But when it will come down to introducing like Red 13 and Tifa, I feel like they will also be done in the same way. Tifa being a little more caring, more showing more of a contrast to Cloud's cool guy persona. And Red 13, I feel like I shouldn't give that much away. I want that to be a little more of a surprise for Travis, and also because I can't remember a ton about Red 13.
What about Kate Sith?
Oh, fuck Kate Sith. I hate that kid. Kate Sith is one of the worst. I think I'm stealing this from your tweet, Mike, but I agree. Kate Sith is probably one of the worst Final Fantasy characters I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
My god, he is annoying as shit.
He's my favorite, okay? Calm down.
Travis, please play the game before you make a joke out of that.
I wanted him to be the Final Fantasy rep in Smash Bros.
If he was a Final Fantasy rep in Smash Bros, all of the consoles would combust because it would just be a lame game at that point.
This isn't a big spoiler because no one gives two shits about Kate Sith. But if you want to be careful, you can close your ears, Travis. When this person leaves and comes back, when they came back, I'm like, I fucking don't want you back in my party. I'm like, please don't come back to me. I liked it when you were gone. It was so annoying.
They actually gave him a decent exit, too, where he's like, oh my gosh, he's actually going to be purposeful. Hey, guys, how's it going? Fuck you!
I know, I was like, I didn't ask for you to come back.
I was like, I never used you in my party. You were always the lowest level person. I was happy you were gone. Why did you have to come back?
I know. I was like, that's why I was like, I don't want to look at Kate Sith in HD. Like, that's not something that was on my list of things that I want. But whatever.
Like, I think I actually gave him a little bit of a purposeful thing where it's just like, no, we're not going to go into that. Kate Sith does have actually a big moment, and the reason why he does die would be awesome. But my God, it was. It was annoying. But anyway, I'm trying to think about
Did I do it? Did I time it right?
You did.
Wow.
Time what right?
I took my headphones off because I didn't want it.
Cloud and Aerith and Tifa and everyone dies. Everyone's dead.
Yeah, they just nerfed him in Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Of course he dies.
Sephiroth turns into Midgar the city.
Sephiroth turns into Sakurai, nerfs him, and then just destroys him.
And then Sakurai comes into Final Fantasy. Yes, that makes sense. But that was the last thing I wanted to mention. It was actually about Sephiroth. I am curious. I know me and Mike talked about this a little bit not being recorded, and I'm curious about what you guys, what I guess is more of my question, what you think would be a good way to pretty much incorporate Sephiroth into the early game, because really in the whole Midgar section, there's only one big event that Sephiroth really has a part in, and that's the whole thing at Shinra Corp. Before, he was just kind of mentioned in like passerby talk, and they don't really get into Sephiroth a lot until after the whole Midgar section of the game. So I am curious, do you think they're going to try to, because in the demo you already kind of saw that they, at least in terms of some of the Cloud's headaches or whatnot, I'm thinking they might try to give Sephiroth a little bit more of a role or introduce him a little earlier. And in my mind, I'm initially thinking that's a bad idea still. I'm wondering if you guys have any takes on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's like, I would rather them not introduce Sephiroth early. The whole beginning of the game for me was setting the stage. You know, like, this is what's going on. And a lot of Final Fantasy games do that, where, like, there's a lot of games where you don't even meet the main enemy until way, way later in the game. Final Fantasy VIII is Final Fantasy IX is very similar in that vein, where you can't even...
6 does that as well.
Yeah, really most of them are. 10 talks about sin, but you don't even have any idea what sin is until toward the end of the game. 15, you don't even meet the main enemy until like 10, 20 hours into the game. So there's a lot of games like that where that's just a Final Fantasy thing, where it introduces you, sets the stage, and then at some point you meet kind of the main bad guy. So I don't mind if they keep the Sephiroth introduction when it happens, because the game is not about Sephiroth. That's not like what the main idea of the game is. And I think Final Fantasy has always done a good job of keeping the main idea away from just kill this villain to, no, there's more of an overarching thing, which it's not Mako, it's Mako. God damn it. Anyway, because
I've actually never heard people call it Mako.
I've only ever heard Mako. And when they called it Mako, I was like, what the asinine? It blew my mind. I was like, no, I'm not calling it that. But anyway,
I refuse.
So like the whole game was about Mako and the live stream and how all of that works, and so Sephiroth was just kind of the overarching villain of it. But I feel like in order to really understand it, you need to first ignore Sephiroth and focus on, well, what is Mako? Why is this such a big important thing in the game? Who is Shinra and all this? So I hope they don't introduce him early. I hope they set the groundwork really well so people understand it before they introduce the villain, because that's, I think, what made the original so strong. So I hope they don't change that.
No, I would agree with that, because I like the fact that it was such a great build up to Sephiroth, because it was always the who is Sephiroth, like you always hear his name in passing or whatnot, and you get accustomed to hearing the name and like associating it with a powerful creature, a powerful person,
right?
And you never actually feel, or you never actually like put two and two together until you get to Nibelheim. And I know that's not even going to be happening in the Midgar section, but that's when you actually are able to see that, holy shit, this is the guy that's fucking that was behind certain things. Like, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's like, this is scary, because then you're just like, oh, well, I'm already against the odds and going up against the freaking Shinra Corporation who's killing the planet, and then you're like, damn, and there's Sephiroth. Like, there starts to become this triangle dynamic that I think is so cool when it's like incorporated later in the game. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think it would lessen the impact of the Nibelheim incident if they try to incorporate Sephiroth earlier. So I really hope they don't, but I could see if they do. Yeah. But it could be an easy sell to me if you can keep the focus on the Shinra Corp for the Midgar episode. So I think it'll be okay, but I really hope they don't incorporate Sephiroth earlier.
Yeah, well, I hope they don't show him earlier, because I agree with what you said, and I loved that, because when I first saw Sephiroth, I was like, holy shit, this is the most intimidating main villain of any game I've ever played, because there was so much buildup of people talking about this Sephiroth guy. And I was like, oh my, it's like Voldemort in Harry Potter, where like they say his name so much and you don't see him.
How dare you disrespect Sephiroth like that?
Right? Well,
he has a nose.
That's fair. Sephiroth is a lot cooler, I will admit. Voldemort was kind of dumb, I'm gonna be honest. No, but so they talk about him and they allude to this guy, and you're like, I want to know what this is, who he is. And so like when you meet him, it was like, oh, holy crap, this is him. Which made that moment so intense because they just kind of they allude to like his existence, but there's not much shown to you. And like so
they do
it's
foreshadowing
just this,
really well with Sephiroth.
Oh yeah, like the build-up was incredible. So I hope they don't get rid of that in any way. If they want to start introducing him earlier, that's fine. But if they do it earlier, I hope it's that same build-up. I hope they don't actually like show him walking down the street or something. That would be really disappointing.
Yeah. Hey, Cloud. Hey, Sephiroth.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I'm the new guy in town. Oh, lovely.
You like my sword? I like your sword. How about my sword? Oh, God. If they compliment each other's swords, that'd be even worse.
Oh, my God.
Somebody please make that a parody. I would love to see it. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got. Do you guys have any other thoughts that you want to share about the demo? Or hopes and feelings for the remake?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll just start off by kind of saying, like, or end off, I suppose, by saying that I really, really liked the demo. It had me excited. I talked about it in my little video where I love demos that, or excuse me, not demos, I love remakes that actually have a purpose beyond just a graphical change. My favorite thing about the Resident Evil ones is that they changed from fixed camera to like over the shoulder, figuring stuff out. That's what this game is. It changed its combat. It's a new way to play Final Fantasy VII, which I really like. I know a lot of people were upset that it's not completely turn-based, but I do like that I can experience this game in a new way now. If I want to play it turn-based, play the original. It's there for you to play.
Or
but
the
I like
remastered originals that have come out.
Yeah, there's plenty of those too. So like if that's a real concern, you can do that. But I like the fact that now all of a sudden it's like, well, if I want to play an action version of this game in updated HD graphics, this is there. This is what a remake should be. I don't think a remake should just be, well, it's a new system, we're going to make it HD and re-release it. I like the fact that they changed the combat. They're tweaking the characters in the story a little bit to freshen the experience, but not enough to like disrespect the game. So this demo gave me a lot of hope. I was hesitant at first because remakes always scare me. I'm picky when it comes to remakes. I either really love them or I really hate them. And this one, after playing the demo, totally has the making of being like something I really love. I'm thinking about the final boss fight and how intense it was in the original game, and I'm thinking, how are they going to do that in this action sense? I'm thinking of certain levels and how they're going to look. Like, there's so much I'm excited to see now. Now that I know they're putting a lot of care, and I always knew they were putting care into it, but seeing that it's actually coming out really nicely has me really excited. So, yeah.
No, I would agree. I think that from what I've seen so far, it does make me excited for it. I would say that like 1 out of every like 4 remakes in my mind are ones that I actually like, and I think that this one is actually going the route of that, which is surprising because I used to be in the camp of turn or active time battle or bust, and I don't really feel that way anymore. So I think that at least it's taking the right steps, and I'm excited to see how it does. But that it's such a stupid pet peeve of mine. I want to see a name change. It's not going to happen. I want to see that name change now, though.
Yeah.
I will use a Sharpie on my TV and fix it. Don't worry, it'll be fixed.
I mean, I really want to see video of that. Ay.
I'll just edit the icon. Travis, you got any final thoughts?
So like I said, I never really got into any of the Final Fantasies I really don't even know why. I like turn-based combat games, so
It took me a long time to get into Final Fantasy 2. I don't know. I just never bought the game.
Yeah, that's how I am. So when I got the demo, I didn't really think I would want to pre-order it, and now I'm going back and forth on, do I want to pre-order a digital deluxe one so I can also have a CD with me and literally listen to that shit in the car because it is really good music, or do I just want to get the game only and have it digitally so that way the moment it comes out I can play it. instead of having to wait for it to come in or me going to the store. Decisions. It's difficult.
Right.
Good decisions to make.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll just buy both.
Yeah, that's always a possibility. But I guess that's going to do it. That'll be it for our takes on Final Fantasy VII Remake. So let us know in the comments below. Are you guys excited? Do you guys want to? Are you guys actually part of the turn-based or die crew? I don't know. Just let us know what you think. We're all pretty excited for it, and we're wanting to hear your guys' opinions. So without further ado, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.